Welcome back to Math Mini Lessons. In this lesson, we're going to look at finding and continuing patterns. As I play with these patterns, look to see how I describe how the numbers are changing in the pattern, how I use that to find the rule and that creates that pattern, and how I use the rule to either continue or complete a pattern that has some missing numbers in it. So let's start by talking about what patterns are. There are three types of patterns we're going to look at today. They're all numerical patterns, meaning a list of numbers that follow a certain rule. And that's the rule that creates the rest of the pattern. So you're going to try to figure out, it's kind of like a puzzle, what's the rule that creates the next number? Or if I give you the rule, could you figure out what the rest of the pattern is? Now, the first one are growing patterns, and these are numbers that get bigger. And this could be either by adding or by multiplying. Let's look at the difference. What if my rule was to add 3? And my pattern starts with the number 2. So I'm going to just keep on adding 3. And you can see in each of these cases, plus 3 makes 5, plus 3 makes 8, 8 plus 3 makes 11. But what if my pattern starting with 2 was to multiply by 3? So I have 3, my next number would be 2 times 3 is 6, 6 times 3 is 18, and 18 by 3 is 54. So in both of these cases, my numbers are getting bigger. So it is growing, but they can grow in different ways. So look to see, how are my numbers changing? What's the difference between them? Here, my difference is always 3. But in this case, my difference is not just an adding pattern. I could just add it. It's because in this case, there's a multiplying pattern. Second pattern I could have is a shrinking pattern, and that in this case we're going to keep it real simple. In 6th grade might be subtraction, so it could be something like -5. So I can start with 35, 30, 25, 20, and so on. Or it could be an alternating pattern, which could be something like +3, -1. So what does that pattern look like? All right, let's start with the number 2. So 2 plus 3 is 5, minus 1 is 4. Plus 3 is 7, minus 1 is 6. Plus 3 is 9, minus 1 is 8. And you can kind of recognize these because they have an up and then down pattern to them, where the number gets bigger and then smaller, and then bigger and then smaller. So there's something happening with each one. All right, so we're going to play with these types of patterns in today's lesson. Let's go into our first model. A number pattern is shown: 1, 3, 9, 27, and so on. What are the next two numbers in the pattern? And they give us some options. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to list these numbers, and I have to ask myself, is it growing, shrinking, or alternating? And looking at my numbers, they are getting bigger, so I know that this is a growing pattern. So this could mean is growing with addition, with consistent addition, meaning I keep adding the same number again and again, or I'm multiplying by the same number again and again. So I'll try the adding one first. To go from 1 to 3, I'm adding 2. So if I keep adding 2, I'm not getting that same number. So just so you can see, if I added 2, 1 plus 2 makes 3, and 2 plus 3 would have given me 5, but I have 9. So this is not an adding pattern. This has to be something else. So let's erase this one. And now we're going to try multiplying. To go from 1 to 3, 1 times 3 makes 3. So let's check if this is true the rest of the way. 1 times 3 makes 3. 3 times 3 makes 9. 9 times 3 makes 27. So we figured out the rule. Our rule is a times 3 or multiply by 3. So I'm going to take the next number, 27, and let's multiply that by 3. All right, 7 times 3 is 21. 3 times 2 is 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. So the next number should be 81. And then my next one, it will be again to multiply by 3. 3 times 1 is 3. And 3 times 8 is 24. So my next two numbers in the pattern should be 81 and 243, which is D. All right, so that same flow, we're going to do it in one more model. I'm going to look to see what kind of pattern do I have. Is it growing, shrinking, or alternating? Can I figure out that rule? And then how do I use that rule to answer the question? Hit pause and jot this down. Let's do this one together. The first number in a number pattern is 28, so I know how it starts. And the pattern is to add 14 to get to the next number. If the pattern continues, which statement is true? So we know what the pattern is. So now we're going to continue the pattern. So in this case, I'm going to add 14. So I'm going to add 14 to this, and I get 42. And I'm going to add 14 again, so you can see what I'm doing. And I get 56. And if I added 14 again, I would get 70. And I would add 14 again, and I would get 84. So obviously I'm saying the numbers out loud for the sake of the video. You can check the math itself as well. So I can continue this pattern, but I want to see which one of these is true. So for A, all the numbers can be divided by 10. That's not true. Only 70 can be divided by 10 because it ends in 0. So I'm going to eliminate that. All the numbers can be divided equally by 4. Well, this is true for 28, but not true for 42. 4 times 10 is 40, and 4 times 11 will give me 44. So nope, I'm going to cross this out as well. And the next one is, can it be divided by 8? Nope, 28 is not one of the math facts. Nope, 8 times 4 is 24, which is close, but it skips over to the next 32. And the last one, can it be equally divided by 7? Yes, all of these can be divided by 7. 28 divided by 7 gives us 4. 42 divided by 7 is 6. 56 divided by 7 is 8. 70 will give me 10, and then 12. So in this case, I had to create the pattern in order to answer this question. Hit pause and jot this down into your notes. Now it's time for you to try one on your own. I'm giving you a number pattern, 5, 2, 7, 4, 9. What is the 10th number in the pattern? Remember, ask yourself first, is my pattern growing, shrinking, or alternating? And once you figure that out, try to figure out what the change is happening, what is the rule, and continue it to the 10th number. Hit pause and work this out. Okay, and now let's actually share the solution. And the 10th number in the pattern is 10. So how did I get there? Well, let's start by talking about this pattern, what we're seeing and what we're noticing. So to start off, my number got smaller, and then it got bigger, and then it got smaller, and then it got bigger. So this is an alternating pattern. So 2 different operations are happening here. And we're going to use this to figure out, let's see, the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th number in the pattern. This is our goal. So we start over here. What's happening from 5 to 2? It's going down 3. And then to go from 2 to 7, we're adding 5. So let's see if that alternating pattern continues. To get from 7 to 4, we're going down 3. And from 4 to 9, we're adding 5. So we did figure out the pattern. So far it works. So now we have to continue the pattern. So we're going to go down 3. 9 minus 3 is 6. Plus 5. 6 plus 5 is 11. Down 3. 11 minus 3 is 8. Plus 5. 8 plus 5 is 13. And down 3 gives us 10. And that's how I got my solution 10. So this is a really awesome problem. Remember, you're just following those 3 steps. Identify what kind of pattern you have, figure out what the rule is, and then use that rule to answer the question. In this case, it was to find the 10th number in the pattern. All right, that's it for today, Math Marbles. This is actually a fun lesson to play with because it's about recognizing sequences and patterns of what's repeating. And for some kids, that is a ton of fun. Get some feedback and practice in, and I will see you in the next lesson. Be well. Bye.